Welcome to the Math 180 overview here at the University of Louisville. My name is Lily Sumner. I'm a freshman majoring in economics philosophy with a minor in Spanish. And today we're going to be doing a short overview of what happened in this class over my first semester, and also things that could change in the course, what was good about the course, and just an overall overview with what content we studied. So what does Math 180 cover at the University of Louisville? So this course provides an introduction to the fundamental concepts of differential and integral calculus through real-world application, which that's the part I really liked about this class. There was a lot more hands-on, if you could say, that kind of application with our problems. They were more applicable to kind of business or economic standards, which I found very useful, especially for the career I want to go into. So then, what topics does it specifically cover are more of pre-calc ideas, limits, quadratic equations, inequalities, polynomials, linear functions, exponential functions, and derivatives, which I really liked our last stuff that we did with derivatives. So what resources did we use? So the useful resources that I utilized during this course were, of course, my lab or my math lab book. Then I watched Khan Academy videos. I watched the videos that were also assigned on Math Lab. I watched Clifford. He does all these econ videos that are really good, and they kind of explain more of a business side to it. And then I also looked at our past OneNote pages during this class, which we'll get a little bit more into what OneNote is here in a few seconds. So my lab, I felt, was a great platform because it has all you need to study, understand, and truly master the content. When you get on Math Lab, there are videos and problem assisting operations that go along with your homework as well, which are very useful when trying to learn new content. And overall, Math Lab is a homework program that I personally have enjoyed. I used it prior to attending the University of Louisville, which was really nice and pretext to coming into this class. But overall, I do believe that there should be more practice assigned that isn't mandatory, but it could be utilized as a resource a student could access to help them maintain more practice within a certain topic that is being presented in class. So now into OneNote. OneNote, I felt, was a pretty good online notebook in the sense of organization and for more instructional purposes. However, pen and paper are a superpower, in my opinion. Science, it really shows us and tells that when people use pen and paper, they are more likely to retain that information, and I believe we should utilize that then. I also believe it is OneNote itself, it's good for daily instructions, but not something students should really submit work on. OneNote isn't really the best for typing equations into, but in hindsight, this actually is kind of a good skill for students to learn because Excel and the Microsoft platform is really big with businesses. So I do think it's kind of a good skill or a topic that should be breezed over how to do, but I do believe students should do a majority of their work pen and paper. And then the organization, overall, it was good. I liked how it was for the class. You could go in per week and see what days had what. So it was very clean and navigable for people who may have not used any Microsoft platform before. So then class preparation. So in order to get students adjusted to the idea of doing work without guidance, really, or with multiple answers, the beginning of the semester, I feel like, should be more teacher guided. There are notes that students fill out together, possibly with the teacher, and that the math equations are walked through in class together. So then students feel like they're gaining the experience necessary for them to go off on their own and experiment with it. So as students understand, these basic concepts of functions of a math operation, then they will feel more confident in executing the work on their own and asking deeper questions. A student can't understand fully why something is the way it is mathematically until the mathematical operation itself works first. So it's like asking why a car is broken fully without driving it and knowing if the car is actually broken. So I feel like the students do need to have time with the teacher where it's kind of a walkthrough in the class of how to do it, and it may not be something very deep in elaboration as, oh, this is why you do it. But it allows students basically to examine it themselves, learn it, so then they can go tinker with it after. So class involvement. Throughout, we saw a slacking in class participation. I saw it even within myself, which is not usual at all. And for myself, I know personally, and I don't want to speculate into the mindset of multiple classmates, but students felt a lot. I personally felt lost whenever I would be thrown an equation but not told how to fully do it. And having the teacher assistants walk around to provide those feedback to students, it was very useful, and it still did help with things, but it also didn't fully improve my skills with the content itself. I would recommend possibly applying the 3 E's method. When teaching, the primary goal is for a student to walk away understanding the content so that they can apply it to a multitude of situations, allowing skills to translate from the classroom and even into the workforce. This is done, though, by making sure whenever a student comes into the classroom, they don't feel like their guard is up in a way, and that is a part of the brain which I put on here, called the amygdala. I don't really fully know how to pronounce it, but whenever it's kind of like a guard dog, when students are in the classroom, they'll have a guard up kind of in not wanting to respond in fear of shame or having something wrong. So when that is up, it's kind of like a guard wall, and then it doesn't allow their prefrontal cortex to be fully engaged. So that's why I think the 3E method with content in a classroom is very, very effective. So it means that the content is presented through entertainment, engaging, and educational. So you try to encapsulate that within the lesson plan. So the 3 E's allow for that guard wall kind of to be relaxed through the entertainment factor. So I'm not saying put up, like a movie or something like that, but include clips or kind of interactive factors that allow students to kind of relax and feel like the work is something that they could understand and meet with. And then when students feel this kind of engagement, it also allows them to want to be more hands-on and research-based. And I also think that's very important, because then more of your senses, more parts of your brain are acting upon this. And I think when that happens, it also allows for the education to sink in more. So, but otherwise, I learned a really good way to analyze my production possibility curves for my econ classes. I found that very useful. I already work about 4 jobs. I work one on the national level for a nonprofit ranked by Forbes magazine, and I work for one on the state level. And I have my own nonprofit and own business. So to be able to do some of this math stuff and then apply it to my Excel class for my CIS class, I do believe that translated really well. So it was unfortunate that some of the content was lost in translation, but otherwise I do feel that if we applied some kind of technique to allow students to feel more hands-on with the work and wanting to interact with it actually, then it would work really well. But the stuff I did learn was fantastic, and I utilize it all the time. And even for fun, I'm reading an econ book about homelessness, and I've been making little graphs. So yeah, that is what Math 180 is.